Hey, welcome back, everyone. You are tuned in to Unpack This with your host, Gloria Bailey Ray, known as the Authentic Coach. This is season 3, a culmination of 3 months of a women's series. And I'm titling it that the journey actually had a name because in these 3 seasons, 3 months, I want to talk about why awakening, unlearning, and becoming had to happen in the order that it is. But before we jump right in, let me just start with this. For those of you who are new to Unpack This, what it is about is here we unpack the truths behind authenticity, boundaries, things like leadership, self-worth, and reinvention. So we can stop merely performing our lives and actually begin leading them with greater confidence, clarity, and also intention. But today the conversation is different as I started out. And this is not simply because the final episode of a season, but this is the closing of a 3 month journey, and a journey that was intentionally created for women that had 3 distinct stages: the awakening, the unlearning, and the becoming. And each stage had a purpose. Each stage asked something different of you, and each stage prepared you for what came next. Now, the awakening helped you to see. The unlearning helped you to question, and the becoming required you to choose. And today, as I bring this women's series to a close, the question is not whether this journey resonated. The question really is, now that you see it, what are you going to do with it? Because information may inspire you, recognition may validate you, but transformation really requires a response. So, jumping into why I created this series, because I see so many women in my coaching business that and just friends and being among other women, they carry so much that is rarely has a name to it, right? And I'm going to name it as expectations, responsibilities, emotional labor, and the weight of relationships, careers, and just other people's needs. And here's the thing, because so many women have become so capable at carrying it, that people just automatically assume that it doesn't cost you anything, but it does. And while many women are admired for their strength, but they are just quietly exhausted by the demands of it. And even though women are dependable, capable, supportive, but they're still yet hesitant to speak about their own accomplishments or to even advocate for themselves. Women, many of you, you know this, walk into a room, read a room, meet everybody else's needs, and you still leave without expressing your own. And I must tell you that this is not a lack of ability, not at all. It is often the results of just what you've been taught about being agreeable, about being humble, what it means to be accepted. So this series was about naming what so many women experience, but they are rarely able to articulate. Things like overgiving, shrinking, people pleasing, silence that's mistaken for peace, and loyalty that becomes self-abandonment. These were not separate conversations, they were one journey. And that journey is a woman returning to herself. And the journey began actually with season 1, called The Awakening, right? The awakening began the moment that you realize that you can no longer ignore what it is that you feel. Now, you may not have answers, you may not be ready to act, but something inside you recognize that something is no longer aligned. And a lot of times the awakening has come through major life changes. It may have been a quiet realization that you've been present for everybody else but yourself. And what happens is you start noticing patterns that you used to overlook, how you would silence yourself, how you minimize your contributions, or even accepted what didn't feel right. And here's the deal. In the awakening, once you see it, you cannot unsee it, right? Does that make sense? So this is where awakening becomes both freeing and yet uncomfortable, maybe at the same time. Because what it does, it removes that comfort of denial. And before that moment happened, you could not say you didn't know. You know, you did not know. But after you became woke, uh, you had to decide whether, what knowing actually required from you. And so, I guess in a sense, if I had to encapsulate it, I would say what the awakening did was ask one clear question. What in my life is no longer working? It brings clarity, but not yet change. And that is why it can't stand alone, because seeing the pattern does not break it. To move forward, you actually have to examine the pattern, or examine why the pattern exists. And that is where the journey naturally just shifted into, season two, which was the unlearning, right? Because the unlearning helped us question the rules. Yeah, the rules. And what I mean is, you know, once you see what's not working, the next step is understanding why you have continued to accept things the way that they have been. This is where the unlearning, that work actually begins. This is where you actually start questioning the rules that shaped your behavior. And some of the rules were that a good woman keeps everyone together, that loyalty means staying even when it costs you, having boundaries make you difficult, or choosing yourself makes you selfish. See, those beliefs didn't just appear overnight. They were learned. They were learned through experiences. They were learned through observations. They were learned through reinforcement. And over time, they influenced how you showed up. You possibly, well, a lot of you may have learned to stay silent, to avoid conflict, to overgive, to just maintain a connection, y'all, to shrink, to avoid rejection. But what once helped you navigate situations can eventually limit you. And that is why unlearning, or what unlearning actually revealed, because it shifted your focus from what is happening to why it continues. And once you understood that, you could begin to respond differently. So, what am I saying? I'm saying unlearning is not about blame. It's just about responsibility. It is practice through action, speaking when you would have stayed silent, setting boundaries when you had none, allowing others to carry what belonged to them rather than you carrying it. And I can relate to that, and it may feel uncomfortable, especially when old behaviors were rewarded. But let me just tell you this. Growth often requires stepping outside what once felt familiar. Unlearning, it also brings clarity. It literally helps you distinguish between what is healthy and what is harmful, between kindness versus self-erasure, or loyalty and obligation, peace and avoidance. As those distinctions become clearer and clearer, see, something shifts. You begin to release what no longer fits in your life. And once you release those patterns and belief, a new question just seems to just naturally emerge. And the question is, who will I be without them? And that question leads directly into season three, which was the becoming. And the becoming taught you to choose. The becoming is where everything comes together. It's not about becoming someone entirely new. It's not about choosing to live differently based on what you now understand. Because without the old patterns guiding your decisions, you are faced with something powerful, and that's choice. Now, here we go. Let's get into it. Choice in how you respond. Choice in how you show up. Choice in how you lead your life. The becoming is where you begin to act in alignment with what you've seen and released. It's where awareness becomes action. And that action, it doesn't require perfection, y'all. It just requires consistency. And what do I mean? Hey, consistently speaking when it matters, setting boundaries when needing, choosing rest before exhaustion, making decisions based on clarity instead of fear. Confidence, let me just say, it's not always present before these choices. Often it is built around them. That is what makes becoming active. It's not a single moment. It's a series of decisions that reflect who you are choosing to be. And over time, those decisions will shape your life. So, as I close this series, I want to simplify the journey into 3 words. That's right, 3 words. See, release, and choose. Awakening is see. Recognize what is true. Unlearning is release, meaning let go of what no longer serves you. And becoming is choose. Act in alignment with what you now know. See, release, choose. That is the progression. And when you feel stuck, I'm going to challenge you to return to these questions. What do I need to see? What do I need to release? What do I need to choose? Right? See, release, choose. Right? So we arrive at the final truth of this season. And here's the deal. You cannot become who you are meant to be while continuing to protect who you used to be, right? Do I need to say that? You cannot become who you are meant to be while continuing to protect who you used to be. There was a version of you who learned how to survive. You adapted, you endured, and you carried more than you should have. You became dependable, strong, capable. And let me just tell you, I honor her. We should all honor her. But honoring her does not mean that you must continue or that person, that version of you must continue leading you. So some of what once protected you may now be limiting you. Think about that. What once protected you may now be limiting you. What once kept you safe may now be keeping you small. That is the final release. It's not about rejection or shame, but a decision to move forward and to move forward differently. You can appreciate who you were and still choose who you are becoming. Because remember, that older version, that's who brought you here to where you are today. But that older version does not have to carry you forward. Okay? So take a breath. Ask yourself, where am I still performing an outdated version of myself? What role am I afraid to outgrow? Ladies, listen. Am I protecting a relationship or a pattern? Ask yourself, am I maintaining peace or avoiding truth? And this here, what could become possible if I allow myself to change? See, you are allowed to want something different. You are allowed to grow. Don't believe the hype. You are. You are even allowed to choose yourself. And in doing so, sometimes change is not about losing yourself. It's really about you finding yourself, right? And that is so vitally important. I want to thank you for listening, for sharing, and engaging in these conversations over the past 3 months. Your support literally helped these messages reach others who needed them. Now, as we move into season 4, Unpack This will expand. We will continue exploring things like leadership, communication, self-awareness, authenticity, while widening the conversation to include anyone who's committed to growth. As we close this journey, remember the awakening helped you see, okay? The unlearning helped you release. And the final season 3, the becoming, taught you to choose. See, release, choose, right? Now, I'm going to encourage you to live as the woman you have become. That's vitally important. It may seem scary. You may feel like you're standing a little bit on shaky grounds. But what I don't want you to do, I don't want you to look backwards and pick up those old habits. Don't believe the hype that maybe I was better off. Because remember, there was something awakened within you that caused you to decide that you were going to move forward. And even when things feel a little shaky, you're unsure, go back to something I started out saying from day one. Trust your gut. See, you can't unlearn or not see what you have seen. And when you know it, your gut tells you before it even reaches your brain. You know. See, release, right? Choose. All I want for each of you is to live the life that God intended for you to live. And you have to embody that. You have to believe it. You have to know it, right? And again, I thank you for walking this journey with me. Most importantly, I want to encourage you, stay with me. Keep listening. Keep growing. I want you to keep unpacking. And for those of you that have inquired about my book, When to Get Up from the Table, it is available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Ingram Sparks. Get the book. You can download it digitally. You can get the hard copy. And then there's also check out on gloriabaileyray.com. You know what? Hey, there is a free assessment if you want to know about if you need to get up from the table. So please Stay with me. Believe in yourself. Trust that every step that you make is supposed to be the right step. Never look back. Because ultimately, life leads us to where we are supposed to be, you know, irregardless of the paths that we take. So believe in yourself because I believe in you. All right. I am the authentic coach. I'm Gloria Bailey Ray. May you continue to grow, prosper, be well. Peace be with you. And don't forget, if this episode resonated with you, be sure and share it with other people, right? Like, follow, and take good care of you. There's only one. There's nobody else like you. I love you guys. God bless. Thank you.